Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us again today. Super pumped to be back. And it's been a long summer. We took some time off, but of course we stagger our shows, the release dates, so that you guys don't even know that. But it's been a little while since Sandy and I have gotten together here, so we might be a little bit rusty. We'll see how it goes. Sandy, how are you?
Rusty, or maybe like completely rejuvenated.
Yeah.
One or the other. I guess we'll find out.
I'm feeling good.
Okay, good. You better be, because you've just been hanging out down there. I know it's probably pretty hot summertime. So.
Well, you guys have been through summer too, so
yeah,
it's all the same stuff.
I think we're good. I think we're refreshed, and ready to roll.
Absolutely. Everybody knows, go to our website, breakthroughreipodcast.ca, download all of the past episodes that we've done. And also, this is a great way to get in touch with everyone that we've done interviews with. If you find somebody particularly interesting, or, they share a lot of information that you maybe want to learn more about, most of the people that we've interviewed, they've left really, even their phone numbers and emails for sure, of ways to get in contact with them. So you can reach pretty much anyone that we've ever done an interview with right there in the show notes. So go to that and get our free gift.
Yeah, the ultimate strategy for building wealth through real estate. And you can pick that up at breakthroughreipodcast.ca. And as well, when you do that, you, of course, jump on our email lists and never miss a show and never miss an update on what we got going on.
And what is our free gift all about, Sandy? I know we're going to go deep into that strategy today with Gary, our guest, who's here waiting with us. But what is the free gift?
Well, it's really the foundational model of the what's become known as the BRRRR strategy, which often gets pretty talked about in a lot of ways around duplexes, triplexes, etc. It could be for pretty much any type of project out there. It could be for a development type, the building, new builds, commercial, big, small, medium, multi-residential, everything in between. There's variations of that to work towards all different models. So it's really a good foundational piece, and then you can take that and run with it in whatever strategy you're really going to implement.
Yeah, basically, it's a strategic guide on how to take a current property, whatever it may be, and renovating it or changing the use of the building, or increasing the value of it in one of those two ways, or maybe even more. And then being able to recapture some of that money that you've put into it, and then carry it on and put it into other projects and continue, right? It's all about being able to keep going, keep adding to your portfolio.
Yeah, optimizing the current one, getting it to its highest and best use, recycling that onto the next one, and that's how you really supercharge your portfolio.
Exactly. And, go over to iTunes, leave us a rating or review there. That helps. It helps us get great guests. It helps us reach more of an audience. So, if you have a couple minutes, please go over and just leave us your thoughts. It's always helpful.
Absolutely.
What have you been up to, Sandy? How was summer?
Hanging out around different places of Canada, to be honest. Last month or so, did some cool trips out East Coast. So got to actually met with some great investors around Halifax. Bunch of places. It sounds like I was there forever. I was only there for a little over 2 weeks. But Halifax, Moncton, Fredericton, Montreal, St. John's, Newfoundland, and then I mixed in some fun golf in Cape Breton. But met with investors in all those towns or cities, I should say, for some of them, and it was really cool. Got to learn a little bit about the market out there, and realized that we need to bring on some guests from these markets. St. John's, Newfoundland is something we have never talked about, and I'd love to get some. It was an interesting market, very different from anywhere I've seen in Canada, specifically there, and just interesting booming markets. Halifax is going crazy. So, well, at least it everyone's a little slower right now, but prior to the mid 2022 here, it was really booming. I think there's lots of growth there. So it'll be interesting. I think if anyone's listening and they want to jump on our show and they think they can bring value from those markets, I think that'd be a cool show in the near future.
For sure. Yeah, we want to reach all of Canadians, right?
Mm-hmm.
no matter which market you're in. So I'd love to hear from some of those markets as well. Was that an organized event, or is that just you just went traveling, road trip?
It was a little bit of it started out as more just it was going to be just a fun thing. The golf part was kind of the trigger for it. And then in Cape Breton, and then parlayed that into running some training sessions, partnering with some of the Keller Williams brokerages in those areas, and just ended up making it a pretty eventful and active trip. And it was busy, but best part was really just connecting with other investors, and not just investors, real estate people, people that are doing cool things in those markets. And yeah, like I said, I actually have some, now that we're talking about this, I have some great guests that we're going to line up. They're come to my mind right now. But if anyone else out there wants to be on, I mean, we'd love to have more content from those areas, because they're way different than Southern Ontario. But they've been experiencing almost Southern Ontario like growth because of everyone departing from Southern Ontario, right? So they're all it's very interesting markets out there right now. They're experiencing things that they've never experienced, and it's cool. And there's some unique investment opportunities, like the landlord tenant board and stuff is way different. All of the Ontario folks love to complain about that. It's a lot different in New Brunswick, for example. There's a little more landlords friendly. Maybe not the appreciation that we get to benefit from, but there has been recently. So there's some interesting differences there that I think we should explore further.
Yeah, absolutely. And I personally know a bunch of people who, live in Ontario, but have been investing in New Brunswick.
St. John, I bet. I know a lot of St. John. I've heard a lot of that. Or Moncton, I guess, too.
Moncton, I think. Yeah, Moncton more. Yeah. But either way, and I was looking at some investments out there and then didn't pull the trigger on those. But yeah, no, definitely some interesting stuff. So yeah, if like Sandy said, if anyone's in those markets and wants to talk to us, we'd love to hear from you. I sent you a link, Sandy, so we're going to put that in the show notes, but it's just, we've got some really cool container house builds just starting up here, like just got permits. So, and we've got the land. So that's going to start. It's already started, basically. The lots have been cleared, they've been prepped. But once now that we've got our permits, it's going to happen a lot quicker now. So you've got the link. It's all just concepts, but these are really close to the beach in Playa Havienas. They're going to be gorgeous. So anyone who wants to check that out can go into the show notes and click the link and see what we're talking about.
And the price points on these are American dollars?
Yeah. $399, which is a great entry level price. Those are 3 bedrooms. So we sort of took a concept of something that I had seen in the area here that was 2 plus a den, and we changed the design a little bit. So now we got 3 full bedrooms. I think they're gorgeous, and they really fit in with the jungle, right? Like they're covered in that beautiful wood finish. So
modern.
Anyway, we're excited about those.
They look super cool. Those are pretty cost effective by the sound. I was expecting American, because if it was Canadian, that seems too cheap. But it looks like some great deals. And are you gonna showcase any of that on your tour there in the next couple months?
Yeah, we will be. Yeah, and other properties where we have opportunities to maybe do some more, and some other different development opportunities. So I'm looking forward to that. I've got my eye on something else that I'm going to be showing everybody.
Awesome.
It'll be fun. And that, it's all sold out, but we've got our investor property tour in conjunction with Durham REI, and that is November 18, 19, 20 here in the Gold Coast, Guanacaste in Costa Rica. And it's going to be fun. We've got 22 investors coming now. So too many, I think, to be touring properties. So it'll be a little bit easier to maybe do some of these development ideas where we can just all stand in a field and envision things together. We'll be seeing some cool Airbnb rental properties too, though.
Sounds exciting. Wish I was going to be there. Maybe the next one.
Well, Gary, our guest, is not going to be at that one, but he was here recently and visited me down here. So that was fun. Want to welcome Gary to the show, Gary O'Brien.
Hello, yeah. Nice to be here. Thank you very much for having me on the show. I've actually been a long time listener of the podcast, and it's kind of feels a little bit odd to be on the other side of the microphone here for this episode. But thank you very much, Rob, for that time in Costa Rica. You're very kind in terms of taking us around and showing some properties there. We wanted to go to Costa Rica for a vacation. I wanted to go for the property viewing, so it was a nice balance. So I kind of snuck a day in there to do that. So thank you very much.
Well, it was fun, and we hung out a bit too.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah. Oh, how can you not? There with the beach and the restaurants, the beach side there. It was fantastic. It was great.
Yeah, awesome. Well, welcome to the show. Gary, you and your wife, Karen, you've been investing in real estate since 2014. A little background on you here that I have. You used to work in the film and television industry for 23 years as a 3D animator, and also part-time teaching at a college level. And years ago, realizing that the 9-to-5 will not provide enough for your retirements, like a lot of people end up realizing, and you started seeing friends and neighbors get involved in real estate. You knew real estate was something to add to the bigger picture. Obviously, you got involved in that, and the BRRRR method, private lending, seem to be your strategies of choice. And we're going to talk a lot about that today. Some of your second suite conversions. You're a member of Durham REI, listener, reader, of real estate podcasts and books, like you mentioned, and a real student of the investment real estate world. And as someone not from real estate investing background, you hope to inspire those that think real estate is only for full-time agents and brokers. So it's time to think again. And hope to hear a lot more about that on the show here. Welcome again.
Yeah, thank you. Yes.
So Gary, 2014, take us back there. How do you get started in real estate investing?
Well, as someone that isn't in the real estate business, I mean, in terms of full-time thing, I still work in film and TV. I'm a 3D animator and computer animation. And so, for us, it was a very much of a different thing. We saw friends and neighbors and stuff that were getting into real estate. And we thought, wow, like that's really interesting, and how they're making it work for them in terms of the bigger picture, right? So we actually had a neighbor where we used to live, and she was a bank manager at one of the banks, and her and her husband had a rental property, and it was, I guess, the tenant was the Ontario government, because they were, I guess, for it was a house that was providing services for those that really had physical challenges and stuff like that. So it was done through the government, and very predictable rental payments every month, right? So that always stuck with me. Plus, also with some friends of mine from years ago, they did the duplex conversion. Maybe it was the BRRRR method before it was called the BRRRR method, way back when, and that always kind of stuck with me, right? So we always knew that getting into real estate would really be beneficial. And so when we thought that we were ready for this, when we got established in the house and moved to this new place, let's look into this. So we did, and we saw these Oshawa townhouses back in 2014, and back then they were only 233,000, I think they were selling for. And at the time, we were kind of like, oh my god, like, it's very scary to do this and very daunting, right? Looking back now, I wish I bought 10 of them if I could, but back then you don't know. And so we were going to do it. And then we're seeing all these, the lot, it was brand new construction, I should say. And we saw these lots being gobbled up by each person buying them. There's only like 6 lots left. We're like, oh my gosh. So we talked to our neighbor, who was our former neighbor, I guess. And she was on vacation. So we have to wait a few more days, and we're kind of getting all, antsy about buying this townhouse. So she came back from vacation. We called her right away and said, listen, we're thinking about buying this townhouse. Do the numbers work for us? And she's just like, buy it. Just go out and buy it. Go get it, right? So she's like, we'll make the numbers work. We'll make it happen. Don't worry. Just go get it, right? So that was the confidence that we needed. And we jumped in the car with a checkbook within 30 seconds of that call, and ran down to the sales office, and we did it. And we were kind of like, wow, okay, now we have this extra property to our name that we're totally not used to, right? And it was very out of our comfort zone. And then I figured, I better learn how to be a landlord now. Like, if we're renting this, how do I do that? And that's the whole, Durham REI that came around for me, and reading the books and learning all that stuff. So it's been quite a ride. It's very interesting. I mean, we don't have the biggest portfolio. I'm sure that people, like, I applaud those that have like the 30, 50, 100 properties and stuff. That's fantastic. We're growing at a rate that is like at a pace that's manageable for us. And that's why we've been buying one every other year, because we do a renovation. The way it's worked for us has been using the B lender instead of, and then flipping it over to an A lender a year later. So within that year, we renovate it, we find tenants, and then that year comes up, and then we switch over to an A lender. So that's how we've been kind of working it, and that's why we've got 5 units over 3 properties for now. But we still continue to grow. We're still looking and looking at other options, and trying to just grow that business.
So we're going to dig deeper into the individual properties, the next two, in a minute. But like, what are the big things that have stood out to you so far?
The big things, in talking real estate, I think, and me coming from a creative background in terms of animation and art and all that kind of stuff, an artistic background, I always found real estate, or at least my impression of it years ago, was this: you either like rent a place or you flip it. That's it. Whereas over the years, you've learned like how creative real estate can really be. Like, the different strategies are amazing. The BRRRR strategy, flipping houses, vendor takebacks, rent to own, Airbnb arbitrage, which I thought was amazing when I first found out about that. Private lending, joint ventures. When you're working outside of the banks, it can be as open as you want it to be, and you can strike whatever deal works for everyone involved to make it a win-win. So within reason, obviously, but it's quite something. It gets quite creative. Also, too, other things that stand out are building your team, the people that you surround yourself with to help accomplish the next investment is huge. You got to really be able to know how to make friends fast, especially for us, we tried a different market, and like, not knowing the town, not knowing the area, we really had to kind of make some friends fast and get to know people and who can do what, and delegate and all those kinds of things. Got to trust your gut. In regards to that, I mean, like, as an example, when to hire, when to fire, right? So be slow to hire someone, but be fast to fire them if need to be. We went through that with one contractor for the Oshawa duplex, where the first couple of weeks in, we were talking about getting egress and all these kinds of things put in, and it's like he was bringing the wrong window, or he was charging us way more, like double, for the half of the amount of drywall and taping to be done, or taping not being done, and we're kind of adding it up, and we're going, this is not working. And so within 2 weeks we thought we found our contractor to help us, we had to let him go. You have to make decisions like that to go forward, right? Because a few more weeks of that could have really set us back, right? So we try to keep those kinds of things in mind. Knowing when to get a second opinion always helps. So making sure that you're not just getting one quote, get a few of them, kind of compare them to each other. That's always a huge benefit too, because that way you can kind of gauge things better. And some contractors may come in and quote you a job that is like way beyond or way more than what it needs to be, whereas another one might come in and say, no, you just need that, and that is fine, like that small job, and you're not paying for this huge extravagant thing. You're just paying for something that was much smaller scale in terms of the same fix. So those kinds of things are important. And then software, some of the software that's out there now that makes things easier in terms of all the screening tenants and running your systems and stuff like that. I found that really helpful along the way too, as well. And that's all out there to test and try out. And then last but certainly not least, I would say that mentoring and coaching. That's important to get that, because you really need a sounding board or someone that you can kind of go back to say, this is not what I'm used to. How would you handle this? And I think the mentoring and coaching to help guide you through the process is, I think that's necessary. I think that's a good thing to have in your back pocket.
Yeah. The big thing that I'm taking away from this is the gut, right? And I think that that's really important that people tune into that, because you'll know whether you're meshing with a contractor, right? Like in your case, like when something just doesn't seem right, it's usually good to take a step back and go, okay, is it? Because I've worked with a lot of contractors over the years, and some, you can tell that they know what they're doing, like the ease in which they get things done. There's a flow to their work. They understand what's going on. It's not like there's not a mess everywhere, and the numbers make sense when you look at what things cost. So when these things don't feel right, it's probably because they're not. So
right.
I like that.
I mean, yeah, for sure. That's huge. I remember one of the plumbers I spoke to, just as a quick story. I spoke to one of the plumbers and he quoted me like, such a big job tearing up floors and stuff. I was almost like gutted in terms of worry and stress. Like it put a lot on me. I think I forgot my wife's birthday that week almost because of it. I just couldn't sleep. It was just like, that's kind of daunting. Yeah, but it was daunting. It was the heaviness of just like, oh my God, what am I into here? Like not expecting this, because that was our first duplex conversion that we did. And that one was a bit more scary. And we kind of thought, oh boy, what are we into here? You know what I mean? But after finding the right person, and afterwards we ended up getting a contractor that I still work with now. In fact, I just spoke to him the other day. And he came in and worked on the job for us. He can do, quite a bit of everything, really. He's quite good and skilled. And he was instrumental in moving us forward and getting us to the finish line on time. Right. So that was good. I mean, I'm pretty handy. I can do some of the jobs and some of the work as much as I can handle, but some things, I could probably do it, but I'd rather pay someone who can do it quicker, cleaner, and has the right tools for the right job. And I think that's huge, important in terms of like moving forward and progressing and meeting your targets, because if not, you can waste a lot of time, and time is money, right? So,
and lastly, before we move on to the next subject, as far as the software goes, is there anything that you found that stood out for you, like that's a good resource you want to share?
Lately I've been using, I'm actually screening tenants right now for one of the units, and I'm going back to using Rentify again. So I've been using that one, and that's a good sort of tenant screening software for the financials, for the banking, which is great. That's been very useful. And now I'm switching from one to another. I think I'm going to try Single Key for the tenant screening part, credit checks and all those kinds of things, right, to collect all the information online. So I'm going to try them this time. I've been using another one, but I don't know if they're even still in business anymore without maybe naming them. But I just I'm going to switch it to something new and try something new here. So I'm going to try that. But I mean, that's just one of many. I also I'm a member of the Front Lobby, which is the Landlord Credit Bureau, which is one of the tools that we can have as landlords, that help us. And also, what was the last one there? Tenant Cloud, I've also kind of worked with too as well. And all these are just kind of like trying to keep your systems in place, right? And that it helps that way, because systems are everything when you're running different properties at different times, and everything's happening. So a good way to keep track of all that is using the software, so that I open up one account, I guess you could say, and all I need is right there in front of me. So I try and use that stuff as much as possible.
Awesome, Rob. You don't know yet, but we're gonna have some on from Front Lobby in the next little bit. That should be a good conversation. So software makes, I mean, it can make things a lot easier if you're using the right tools. So thanks for mentioning it. Oh, where did Rob go? We lost him for a minute. Okay, I'm sure he'll come back. Let's keep rolling, anyways, for our listeners here, and talk to us about how you plan out your BRRRR conversions, what that process looks like. If you can, let's go from right before you close on the property, after you close, and then after renovations and tenanted, and kind of those 3 phases. Can you take us through what that's looked like for you?
Sure. Yeah. Well, what I'll talk about is our latest property that we finished earlier this year. And I got to say, to be like open and transparent here, I wasn't even sure, like knowing the numbers and the interest rates that we're dealing with right now, this property that we bought in Chatham, it like 6 months ago, this thing was a perfect BRRRR. It was cash flowing like crazy. It was doing really well. And it was, I would call that a successful, a successful investment that we had. Now with these interest rates, I'm kind of like, oh my God, like it's killing the cash flow. And I'm thinking to myself, Rob and Sandy won't want me on the show if I don't have something that's totally a success, right? But then I had to kind of reframe my mind about this because, and my wife is good at this kind of stuff too. And she was kind of like, we were talking about it and we were saying how, no, this is the value in it. Like this is the struggle that investors are having. And in that regard, it's good to talk about these kinds of things to get them in front of us to know that, yeah, we're all tackling this new market that we're in across the board. So I thought, no, there's value in talking about this too, even though it's the cash flow isn't as strong as it once was. We should talk about it. So, you know, we all looked like geniuses 5 years ago when we bought these properties, but now here's where the rubber meets the road. And now we have to kind of navigate through all the weeds here. So, but yeah, it's been a good process to go through, but I'm hoping, you know, this time next year, maybe 2 years from now, we're all sitting all, you know, pretty again in terms of our situations. But in terms of the property itself, the Chatham property was, if I break it down into like closing on it in terms of and then the after we close and then after we finish the renovations, leading up to the closing. So we found this property on the MLS last summer. So for those that can't or say that you can't find an MLS deal, you can.
Well, quick question, if I can interrupt you real
Sure.
quickly. This is in Chatham, right? This is a market you're not familiar with. Why are you looking there
Right.
in the first place?
Well, we kind of got sort of some information about Chatham. We are actually going to be buying something down there with another investor who was building purpose-built duplexes there, or secondary suites they call them there. So we actually got exposed to Chatham then, probably almost a year earlier. And we found out some of the things that are happening in Chatham and what's going on there. So we thought, okay, the prices, you can't ignore the prices down there. They're quite a lot different from the GTA, and yet their rental rates are still strong. So that was enough for us to kind of say, hey, we got to look at Chatham. So we kind of got exposed to it a year before, and that's why we kind of kept an eye on it. And then that's when we saw this MLS listing, and we jumped at it. So we were looking at it like on the Thursday, I think we saw it, and hey, this came up, and we're looking at it. It's got the ceiling height in the basement. It had big windows for egress. It had the back entrance into the basement. And it already had like a bathroom, a fireplace, a bedroom down there. I was like, oh my God, this could be an easy, or we're hoping to be an easy renovation. So we looked at it online. I called up about it on the Thursday, Friday, called the town and just asked about the zoning right away, because that's, you know, one of your main things that could be an obstacle if you don't have the right zoning. So they got back to me that day, and I was saying that if you don't mind kind of hurrying with the information, because we were planning going to the open house the next day on the Saturday. So they got back to us, said, yes, it can be rezoned as a secondary suite. So once I found that out, it was like, let's move forward with this. And so we went down on a Saturday, and for us, it's a 4-hour drive. And so went down there and took a look at the open house. Yes, there were other people looking at it. So we kind of thought, ooh, you know, we might have to be in a bidding war here. So we thought, let's play our strongest card. And if we get it, we get it. If we don't, we move on. We look at something else, right? So our real estate agent, we put our bid in our it was 420. They were asking 419. They were asking for, but that was way under the market value. That was just to bring in the bidding war, right? The real value of it was probably about maybe 460 something. I'm guessing in terms of comparables. So we kind of thought, oh boy, okay, we don't have any financing ready. We're buying this kind of like on the spot, not fully prepared to do so, right? And we thought, well, let's go ahead and we'll try. We've been kind of somewhat getting prepared for making a purchase. So we were kind of not officially there, but we were on our way there. And so on the Saturday, we went to the open house. Sunday, we thought, okay, let's put a bid in. And even then, our bid of we didn't have financing. It was conditioned upon financing. So we thought we have to kind of beef up our offer. So we said 475, and our real estate agent even told us, like, well, the house next door, the exact same model, went for 495 last month. And so don't expect to be getting this. And sure enough, on the Sunday, we got the call, congratulations, you just bought a house. It was just that 1 week in August where everyone went on vacation. COVID rules were kind of loosening up. Everyone wasn't thinking about real estate at the time. So we ended up getting this. And so it's like, okay, wow, now we have to do something about it, right? So we had to convert it to a secondary suite. So all that time, you can do a lot in between that final, purchasing until closing, right? So we got all our drawings done in terms of before closing. We got all our drawings for the secondary suite design. And so we submitted getting that ready for submission on closing day or the next business day of closing day, right? And in that time, I'm already calling all the local drywall electricians, all the trades and stuff that I would need to have them in there, and just seeing what their schedules are like in the coming weeks, months, that when I think we're going to be needing them. In the meantime, I'm scheduling everything out on, I also use I use Microsoft OneNote just as a way to keep my laptop and my phone updated. So if I'm at home, I can update all the contacts in this new market. And also I can do it when I'm in Home Depot. I can just do it on my phone too. So it updates on either end, right? Which is pretty handy. So that was good. And then, so in the meantime, I'm calling all these trades, and then it comes to closing day. And then closing day, obviously we have the plans all drawn up. We go through all the lawyers, and I'm sourcing materials and stuff, and then putting the systems in place. And then as we close on the property, that Monday morning, I went to the town or submitted my paperwork for the work permits. And then knowing it took about 3 weeks for the permits to come back. And so in those 3 weeks after closing, our plan was, I went down there Monday to Friday and worked on the house and came home on the weekends. So maybe not everybody was willing to do it, but I was, in terms of, and that was definitely hard to do in regards to being away from the family Monday to Friday for probably about 4 months, right? But to do it, we had to do it. So so I was tearing down the ceilings in the basement, knowing that all that was going to get redone. So that was my main objective, to kind of, again, while I'm waiting for work permits to come in, I have about 3 weeks to get things ready for that to happen. And then we actually had a vacation booked to St. Lucia during that time. And we thought, well, do we cancel it? Do we keep it going? What do we do here, right? So we thought, no, let's do it. We're waiting for the work permits to come in. Let's just go and enjoy, right? So we did. And I know taking a vacation during a renovation isn't this always everybody's thing, but we managed to do it. And then that week was the week that the permits were coming in. But the thing is, there was adjustments to the work permit. I thought, oh no. But I got the emails while I was on vacation, and I was like, oh, okay, how am I going to do this? Right. So it ended up being the front or the entrance way to the basement needed to be reworked. It wasn't quite what they wanted in regards to soundproofing and fireproofing it, right, for the rating. So that I took care of that as a phone call on the beach. And that was kind of funny because it was like, here I am on vacation. The beach is like 40 feet away. And I'm talking about this to the inspector about editing our drawings here. So I thought, hey, I can kind of get used to this. This is kind of nice, you know? So anyway, it all got worked out and back and forth with the new set of drawings, which I had drawn up. So I just would sort of relay the message back to the person editing them. And then all went through. So by the time we got back from vacation, I had the work permits ready to go. And they got delivered and all was good. And once that happened, it was, you know, we're ready to start moving. So in that time, it's renovation. It's getting I've already booked the electrician to come in a certain day. I know I've got plumbing and, you know, my handyman that's coming in to do the work and all that kind of thing, right? So I try to use as much local trades in Chatham. And, but I also had my own handyman that was willing to come down and you know, stay for a few days to do the work too, which was totally handy. It was fantastic for that, you know, instrumental. So so that would be like in getting all those trades lined up. Again, calendars, I have it all charted out as to when I think things should be happening and windows of opportunity, because sometimes, like for instance, the drywaller only had 2 weeks in January to make this happen. Right. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll get everything ready on my end for that window. After that, I had to wait 5 months. So those kinds of things are important to kind of queue up all the things that you need to. And so getting closer and closer to finishing this project. And again, it wasn't a huge reno. We were keeping a lot of it because the basement was pretty much like, it was a nice basement as it was. We were adding a new bedroom and redoing or putting in a kitchen. So and then I guess, you know, reworking the entrance. So it wasn't like a huge amount, but it was enough to say that, you know, it's going to take several months to do. So so once we got to the end of the reno, it was time to tenant it, right? So after the renovations, tenanting the property, I found it to be actually a bit more of a challenge. It was, I'm used to, you know, in Oshawa, in terms of population and all that kind of stuff, I know that out of every however many phone calls I take about the place, I know that there's a certain ratio there that would be a qualified tenant, that would be a good fit. Whereas I just found in a different market, it was just taking a little bit longer to get to that qualified tenant, and even then we let the first month go. Like we had to cover the first month of a vacant property. But I'd rather wait for the right person and the right fit than just put anybody in there, and because that's easy, but then it might come back to bite you in a year from now, right? So that's why I always thought, well, okay, we came in under budget, we came in on time in terms of the reno. I can afford to maybe just wait for that right person to come around. And so we covered the mortgage for, I think, an extra one or 2 months before we found the right people to take on those the tenancy there. And they've been fantastic. So it's all been working out pretty good. The only thing that's not working is the interest rates. We can do something about that.
What was the time of year that you were renting that out?
This was, we finished it in, I'd say early March, we finished the renovations. So I had, by April, I believe I had the top floor rented. And then by sort of late May, I had the bottom rented. So it took a bit of time, but well worth it.
So from what I'm getting is you're doing all the property management yourself. You're doing the general contractor work yourself. Why did you decide to do that? Yeah. Especially when you're, you know, like you said, 4 hours away. Why did you decide to continue to do it that way?
Well, I guess because we had the experience from the first duplex conversion, and that was kind of scary. Whereas this one seemed a lot easier. Everything kind of fell into place a bit better for this one. I guess with the experience, but also it wasn't as big of a job either. So yeah, I tried to do as much as I could, knowing I'm going to be down there from Monday to Friday, and I'm still working full time and part-time, like
Mhm.
full-time at my 9 to 5 job, and then also my my teaching part-time as well that I do. So, it's amazing what you can get done after hours and on weekends, if need be, right? And even before the day starts, if you're up early enough. So I know I wanted to do as much of the work myself as I can. Again, getting to know the market, getting to know what's down there. I thought maybe being down there might be better for at least for a short period of time. But then just as the project, and again, we came in on time in terms of finishing it. It was just good to be down there and knowing the trades and keeping an eye on things. I felt more comfortable about that instead of having it handed off totally to someone else.
Well, I think one of the other interesting things is that you had said sort of the idea that, hey, if I'm not like the guru, maybe Sandy and Rob aren't going to want to have me on there for the interview. But like, this is the kind of real talk that we've set out to do right from the beginning. Like Sandy and I don't know, Sandy, if you remember this or not, but I can't even remember who it was we were talking to, but we always want to go, okay, what challenges have you run into, and have the person give us a real answer so that people can learn from it. I don't want, we've actually had a guest where they said, no challenges so
Didn't
far.
have any.
Everything's been great,
Oh God.
And just like, okay, all right. Next question, but so from your point of view, then, when you looked at this, obviously from the beginning, and had a good idea of what it would refinance for after you had changed the use into legal 2 unit, and then how much cash flow it was going to get, and you saw, okay, it's going to be a little lower. But why then would you, and here's the practical information that we're looking for, why then is this still a good deal? Why do you decide to continue and say, yes, we're going to go for this?
Well, I mean, it's long-term. Like we're in it for the long haul. I'm not going to be, offloading this property anytime soon. So for me, I see the bigger picture long-term. Yes, all the numbers worked out. In fact, it was called a home run by, people in the industry and all that kind of, when I gave them the numbers, that is a home run. And, but the way the market just has shifted, it's evaporated almost all the cash flow. And so right now it's about keeping it going, keeping it still operating, and knowing that hopefully in 2 years' time, I've been hearing 2024 when things are going to be, the interest rates are going to be coming down again. So I'm hoping that it gets, it improves our situation in the coming year or two.
Well, in the long term, there is always appreciation, in the long term. So to put it into perspective, we've had different people on there who would put it like this: like, there are people that take $500 a month and put it into an education fund for their kids. Like, this is essentially the same thing, except for you're earning a little bit of money off of it, and then you've got appreciation, and you've got mortgage pay down happening all at the same time.
Right. Yeah, no, that's for sure. And then you can see the different pillars of wealth, I guess, that you can build upon when you have a property like this for the long term, right? Yeah, okay, we're in a bit of a rough spot here for the way our housing market is going, for the values and the interest rates that we're dealing with right now, but that'll change. That's not forever. It's going to be better soon, or in the coming year or two, whatever. So I know we have to ride this out, and we'll do that, and we'll get back into a better position soon.
I mean, it's interesting because when you look at the prospect of being a real estate investor years ago, one might have thought of it as, okay, you buy a single family home and you rent it out. Okay. So now our strategies have changed because of the way that the market turned and the extra profits that could be made by doing these different strategies. But I mean, now maybe with the market shift like this, you look at, okay, I'm going to buy a single family home, affordable price. The rents are still high. So now maybe this works again. Like, it's just about shifting mindset with the change in the market, right? Like,
Right.
there's always something creative that can be done in order to make this profitable. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we're going to get to this kind of in the future. We're going to get to that sweet spot where I'm hoping this is happening, but with our softening of the market pricing, right, and then with the interest rates, yes, they are high right now. And if they can kind of come down at a certain point, and maybe there's going to be some happy medium, I think there's going to be opportunity out there for sure. I think there's always an opportunity in pretty much any market. Finding it, okay, that might be a bit more challenge, but they're out there.
I just wanted to mention something now that I'm just thinking of it. This is like sort of off topic of real estate, but you've had a little bit of like sort of almost like fame and success with your paintings that you've been doing. Right?
Yeah, a little bit. I can talk about that if you want, like just quickly.
Well, it's interesting, right? Like you did this fantastic painting of Gord Downie.
Yeah.
And it's been getting a lot of attention.
Yeah, well, I did this painting back in the beginning of the pandemic, I guess. We finished it in late 2020, and I'll keep this brief, but yeah, I released the image online, social media, and all that kind of thing, and it went bananas. It was just crazy. It had like 3 million views on LinkedIn alone, kind of thing, not counting Facebook or Instagram or anything like that. It garnered so much attention. This portrait of Gord Downie, the lead singer of the Tragically Hip, that Gord Downie's brother and the Tragically Hip management both contacted me that weekend. And they were like, hey, Gary, nice job. We have to work together on this, right? And I was like, oh, wow, okay, great. So I was talking with Mike Downie and Gord's brother, and he was telling me some stories and stuff like that, which is really entertaining and really good to hear. And then at the end of the conversation, he was saying how, Gary, you kind of broke the rules here a bit. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm trying to do all the right things in terms of setting all this up and, doing what we do, right? And he says, no, not in that way. He goes, a lot of people send me artwork of Gord, and I see it all, he says. And he goes, the eyes are not quite there, and the mouth is a little bit off and all this kind of stuff. But he goes, when I look at yours, he says, yours is perfect. Yours is special. He said, you nailed it. He goes, that is my brother. And I want one for my own home. I was like, oh my God. Like, it was just amazing. I had like goosebumps, like just like listening to him, you know what I mean? Just, that was like, it went right to the source. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, that's amazing. We should
that painting has been quite a ride.
We should put the link for so people can see it. We'll put the
link if you want to. Yeah, Gary O'Brien.
Yeah,
GaryO'BrienFineArt.com.
Right. Okay. Perfect. Yeah, go check that out. I love that painting. Super cool.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Back to the real estate stuff, I guess.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Did you? Sandy,
you're waiting on me. You're waiting on me. Sorry. I was looking at the art.
You're in there?
Oh,
do you see the painting?
Yeah, I was checking it out.
Yeah.
Well, where did we leave off? Let's talk about, did we talk about your Q&A event, live Q&A event?
No.
Oh, not yet. Yeah.
Let's touch on that.
Sure. Yeah. This is something I want to do. And again, I'm talking more so to the newer investors, those that are looking for their first, second, or third property, right? And the purpose of this is to kind of, let's get generating some discussion about this, because I feel a lot of people think that they can't, or, oh, I don't work in the industry, the real estate industry. That means I'm not going to be buying properties over. But guess what? You can. Like, I don't work in the industry either, but I've made this happen. You know what I mean? I continue to do so. So if I can kind of help out in that regard, I'd really like to host a Q&A. I'm calling it a town hall, where people can come in with their questions, with their opinions, or maybe some of their expertise as well. And let's discuss, let's generate, let's try and, for those who think they can't do it, let's make sure that, no, open up the doors. Let's make this happen. I think you can. If you think the money or the time is constrained, knowing how to do renovations or where you live you think is too expensive or something like that, not familiar with borrowing from the bank or whatever the excuse is.
Yeah.
Let's tackle it. Let's come to some solutions here, and knowing how to pull out equity, buying in another town that, just because you don't live in that town doesn't mean you can't buy in another town that covers where you live, and you're investing and growing that other property. Talking with your bank about HELOCs and, the paperwork involved and private lending and all those kinds of things. Let's bring it out in the open and let's talk about that. I'm picking October 17th. I haven't fully started anything official because I'm not sure about when this will be aired, but I'm hoping October 17th would work. And
yeah, I think this will be out in like a week.
Soon. Yep.
okay. Yeah, this is just an informal discussion. Bring your ideas, and I don't want to be the only one talking. I'm hoping everyone can add and really, help give value to the discussion. So they can email me for any info, and I'll send out a link to anybody that wants an invite.
Okay, great. And where do they email you, or how do they get in touch for this?
You can get in touch with me, gkhouseinfo@gmail.com.
gkhouseinfo@gmail.com. That'll be in the show notes. We got to wrap up here. But Gary, is that the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can email me, or I'm also on Instagram under gkhouseinvest. That's the handle.
Hey guys, Omar Khan here with Theta Trading.
Sorry about that. And
GK House Invest.
GK House Invest.
Yeah.
Got it. And that's on Instagram. Okay.
That's Instagram handle, yeah.
Perfect. And these will be in the show notes, guys. So you'll be able to get in touch with Gary and be part of his live event. Awesome, Gary. Thanks for sharing all this today.
All right. Thank you. Thanks a lot for having me.
I love when we dive deep on that because there's details there that sometimes we don't get a chance to go through with other guests. So that was awesome. Appreciate it.
I agree. 100%. Thank you.
Great.
Sandy, how can people get in touch with you?
Sandy at freedomreps.com, or look me up on social medias and connect with me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn.
Awesome. Me too. All those social media things. I don't even know my handles for most of them, but I think if you just put in my name, I'll come up, or you can reach me at rob@mrbreakthrough.ca. Thanks everyone for joining us again. We'll see you next time.